Attention, please fasten your seatbelts. All tray tables up. And seats reclined. Thank you very much. We'll be landing in the saloon shortly.
You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune in.
The same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Leftist lies and globalists, I'm pushing them back. From the saloon to the airwaves, I'm spitting it raw. Constitution's my compass, liberty's law. Big gods creeping, shadows on the land. Feds with the schemes trying to bind up my hands. But I'm the Sherpa, guiding through the storm. Red, white, and blue, yeah, freedom's reborn. They spin their tails, but I see through the haze. Media maggots, lost in the maze. I'm calling it out, no fear in my soul. This patriot's fire ain't losing control. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Leftist judges twisting, trying to steal our rights, but I'm locked and loaded, got them in my sights. From J6 to the border, they're selling us out. I'm screaming from the mountain, hear my rebel shout. They mock the flag, but I'm holding it high. Stars and stripes forever under God's open sky. No globalist chains gonna cage this land. I'm the Sherpa with the truth in my hand. They push their agenda, but I'm breaking the mold. Their promises empty, their hearts ice cold. Chicago's bleeding, borders torn apart. I'm fighting for the people with the warrior's heart. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Storms, I've walked the line, 41 years, badge on the grind, now I'm on the air, my voice like a blade, cutting through the lies that the traitors made. Hurricanes rage, but we're standing tall, sheriffs of the Constitution answering the call. From the saloon to the heart of the fray, we're taking back America, no more delay. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight, torch in the dark, burning knows? Come and remember my name. Static, hear my voice resound. Conservative Sherpa, freedom's battleground. Berserk, Bobcat, Rose will never kneel. For God and country, this fight is real.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting live and direct from Nofe, N-O-F-E, Idaho, in an actual free state. It surrounds me in every aspect in which I can envision. Sorry I was gone last week. Things weren't fab. Things are fabber today. Not flabber, come on, but fabber. By the way, no airbags in this unit. When we die like men. And thanks for everyone being here. There's a ton of people in chat. Perhaps you may or may not have noticed some new notations with regard to the saloon. I hope that you notice that the camera is sharper. It is sharper. And I can adjust the closeness. And hey, look over here. It's a new sign. And it's just for you. Everyone here in the saloon can be a benefactor or benefactress of that. Mike in chat. Oh, and the other thing is you can see the chat if you want, if you dare, right here, live chat, just for you. You can live or you can die in chat. There's a ton of comments, and the comments will continue to scroll. And I don't need to announce them anymore because you can see them by your very own self. Normally that would cost $79.95 each for every person. Tonight, it's free. Did you hear free? Yes, you heard free. The other thing is, I'd like to point this out as well. Mike asked about the Pupple, Morton Pupple. This isn't the exact most recent photograph of him. He is under my desk right now. He still has bad days and good days and whatnot. Today was a fairly decent day. It was okay. Tonight, the show consists, of course, the carousel of amusing GURP, which we'll be getting to shortly. Of course, the Chicago death toll. You will stand by for news, and I will talk about how leftist womenses are destroying society. And then, if we get to it, with luck, I'll be doing happy stories. One other notazione, and that is this programming note. This coming Thursday night, I will be featuring Neil Mammon and Lonnie Poindexter, who has been here a ton of times. For those of you who may not know, Neil Mammon happens to be this guy. He's written a whole bunch of books. Now, perhaps at this point, you're going to say something similar to BZ. Are you a member of BLM now? What's going on? No, I'm not. However, this book is written by one of the co-founders of EBLM, Every Black Life Matters, and I'll be talking to Neil Mammon. He was recommended to me by Lonnie Poindexter, he who has been on the showeth numerous timeseth, and will be gone on the show this Thursday night. Now, as you can see, perhaps you can see these are the first indicators of my notaziones that I'm going to be bringing up. I honestly, I don't know. I didn't know who Neil Mammon was. He was recommended to me by Lonnie. I checked into him, and at first I thought, okay, is he some kind of a dude where, I don't know, he was an ex-Black Panther or something like that? And then he decided to write a book and cash in. No. This guy, after having read this book, is one of the sharpest dudes that you will hear in quite some time. Also, congratulations are in order for Sean Lewis of Edge of Liberty for pulling off the great interview yesterday with Linda Ekman. And if you haven't seen that, young ladies, young gentlemen, I would highly recommend that you run quick like a bunny to the SHR Media Network YouTube channel and go watch that thingy right now. I should also care to point out that we now have 661 subscribers on the SHR Media YouTube network. And also, if you go there to subscribe, please also, in addizionale, add this. Go and click on the bell if you've ever wondered what the bell is on YouTube. It's not exactly this, but what it does is it puts you in line, and when one of our shows are coming up, then you, and only you, plus 661 other people, get notified of when shows are up. So, for example, if you click on the bell, you'll get notified about my show. If you click on Earl's show, Mission Ready Men, you'll get notified about Earl and about Jersey Joe and about Sean and about the Lost Wanderer, who proves once again that those who wander are not all lost. BLM, bloviating large men. Thank you. Very nicely done, Jersey Joe. I appreciate it. So we have some things that will be coming tonight. Like I said, that's the things you're going to be hearing about tonight. Reminding you about Neil Mammon and Lonnie Poindexter on Thursday. And also, I want to tell you this. Let's start over here. Pull that. Pull lever B. Insert tab A into slot B. Get product C. And remember this, if you will. Don't you ever bet against Jesus.
Oh my God! Go! He's running! He's running on the water! No way! Bro ran a sub 2 on 1.
I told you I only get the finest videos. No one has that video. No one has seen that video before. And you are the first. You are the very first to see that video. And so what do we have coming up next? My guess is, by the way, this is where you can hear us right now. You can find us on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, live on YouTube, the SHR Media YouTube channel, and also on Twitch and Rumble and KLRN Radio, although the bastards at KLRN are not broadcasting me live right now. Heavy sigh. And Twitch, and then, of course, later on in podcasts, wherever some of the finest is, people say, wherever you can find some of the finest podcasts ever. And please, I hope that you will and have and are jumping currently into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room. You'll notice that the chat room has again been changed with your mind in mind, only your mind in mind. And at this point, I believe that we're going to be prognosticating and transposing over into the carousel of amusing GURP, which features, let's start this out, if I may please, with Bernie.
Donald Trump will not become president.
Remember this.
He's not going to be president. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States.
Nope.
Take it to the bank.
Okay.
I guarantee it.
All right.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen.
I think that man will be president.
I love playing this. This is the Schadenfreude of Schadenfreude, which is why I don't just love this. I love this.
It's right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
I'm not like Tom.
Take it from me. How about that?
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
NF, not funny.
We better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next. I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
Sorry, Which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
I know.
Of the declared ones right now, Donald Trump.
By the way, just out of curiosity, whatever happened to Ann Coulter? Hey, by the way, Ann Coulter doesn't have a show, but neither do you, Joy Reid.
Donald Trump, just last week, he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it.
Thank you.
Donald Trump will never, ever be president of the United States.
This is unfortunately what happens when Nancy threw away the baby and raised the afterbirth.
Donald Trump will never be elected president of the United States.
Thanks, Harry.
Donald Trump is the here today, gone tomorrow candidate for president of the United States.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
He will never be president of the United States.
So when you stand and deliver that State of the Union address, in no part of your mind or brain can you imagine Donald Trump standing up one day and delivering a State of the Union address?
Well, I can imagine it in a Saturday night skit.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly
Wipe
swear
the
that I will
smirk right off your
faithfully execute
face,
the office
mister.
of President of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
I love playing that, and I hope that you love watching that. It's like one of the things where a leftist gets punched out in the morning ad infinitum on some kind of continuous loop. And I watch those in the morning to get myself happy and ready to take on the day. Oh my God. Then, of course, there's something similar to this. No! Oh no! How juvenile. See, you guys got to laugh at stuff last week that because I was out, I didn't get to laugh at that stuff, and I feel I was left out. Now, this week, I'm not left out, so you might see some things that perhaps are a wee bit dated, but that's okay because I'm not necessarily dated, I'm pruned.
Hakeem Jeffries is lashing out because he's a soft baby back bitch, and everybody knows it. Trump hurt his feelings right in his vajayjay, and he's still butthurt about it. The man throws tantrums every time someone reminds him his party worships open borders and treats felons better than families. Hakeem, get your sombrero. I never said you could take it off. When I say jump, you ask how high.
I don't fuck with you.
Thank you, Carolyn. My, she was strident in that one, wasn't she? Let's talk about a king, shall we? Banging. Bow to the king. Bow to the king. Trump 2028. Yeah. Wait a minute. What is that guy? Because I have the video a little bit later of AOC going fucking nuts because she is fucking nuts. But who's the guy that screamed, "We're going to Oregon, we're going to Zeffron, we're going to Afghanistan"? Yeah. And they excoriated the crap out of him. But it's okay if AOC, ABC does it for me. In any event, look at this, 20 minutes, and I haven't even gotten into the meat and the gristle of the matter. Sadly, something will not be covered tonight, but you are being who you are. You are not Howard Dean. That's it. Thank you very much. Yeah. If I yell that again, then I'll screw up the mic, and I can't do that. Howard Dean. So thanks to everyone for being here. Look, you can buy your own play set.
Border stop set. The big rig rolls in from Mexico, but what's inside? Open the trailer. Whoa, they're trying to run. Deploy your Border Patrol figures to chase them down. Gotcha. Snap on the cuffs and load them up. Highway Heroes Volvo VNL 640 Border stop set includes highway.
Yeah, baby. You can get it. See, that's what you need for your kids. Train them right, train them long, train them hard. And then, of course, we talk about kings. Anybody remember this in terms of kings? Liberals wanted Obama to be a king. No one went into the background, and that's one of the reasons that you watch the show is I dig deep into the internet. There's, it's crafting a show, as Sackhead Sean and Earl and Jersey Joe know. Crafting a show is difficult because there's so much going on, and you have to ask yourself, how do you keep track of all this stuff? Part of my problem is I try to put too much stuff into a show because there's just so much GURP to cover, and I kind of don't want to leave anything out. And as I've said before, I use the show for me by way of you in order to discover and remember, moreover, what it was that was happening at the temper of the time. So no thanks. I do not want to sign up for CNN. But anybody remember this? Oh, BZ, you went back to 2012. I sure as hell did. Liberals want Obama to be a king, not a president. Can liberals ever be happy? I keep asking myself this question as I hear an increasing number complaining about President Obama. There seems to be a Greek chorus of liberal whining. I'm disappointed by him. I expected more. I thought he would be different. Jackson Brown, an Obama supporter, lamented that President Obama is just as beholden to the people who put him in office as any of the Republicans would be. Well, you never hear about this stuff. You never think about this stuff. But part of what I do, and the reason that you love all my buttery political goodness, kind of like this. There's goodness, then there's buttery political goodness. Then there's the kind of buttery political goodness that you'll find in the saloon. And that's it. And that's why you come here. By the way, if any of you are on AOL, here's my screen name due to my beard. So you can find me on AOL right there if you want to contact me. Please, I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. Thanks for paying attention tonight. In honor of No Kings, this is like 10 seconds of everything you knew that the leftists were capable of.
Trump's a bitch.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. We don't like him. That's the word around here.
Any particular reason why you don't like him?
No clue at all. I'm just going with everybody else saying. Trump.
That's right, because I have no brain. That's the leftist story. We do, in fact, have no brain. If I only had a brain. Go ahead.
Okay, guys, we're here as a Christian conservative at a No Kings rally, and we're going to have some conversations with people and see why they believe President Trump is putting their freedom in danger.
Okay, what do you odds on any of these people getting pissed or torqued? Hands? Bueller?
I'm a Christian, so I love Jesus, and I also happen to love President Trump. I was wondering, you're at the No Kings protest today, I was wondering how President Trump has put your freedom in jeopardy.
Every day.
I wouldn't say my freedom's in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute.
So whose freedom's in? Why are you out here at the No Kings protest, I guess? I was wondering, what has President Trump done to put your freedom in danger?
We have some
Made me be a shark.
done so by Sorry, we weren't expecting to be on.
Like, you're not cute. This isn't funny. Oh, you're so sweet.
That's okay. You're not funny, and neither are any of those people as well. Let us continue while I'm here. Here's one man who made a recording of himself, and this gentleman, in about, a minute and a half, will speak so cogently and so logically about what really happened on the No Kings Day.
Yo, why are we back here again?
Another No Kings protest is happening this Saturday. I guess the first one failed and they needed a redo. Freedom doesn't mean you get your way. It means I get to call you out for being this damn ridiculous. The freedom fighters, what I see are cosplayers with Amazon Prime signs and Oprah rage. You scream No Kings while worshiping your favorite influencer like they walk on kombucha. You post resist tyranny from a Starbucks on Wi-Fi wearing $200 sneakers made by child labor overseas. Congratulations, your rebellion comes with a loyalty program. You hate the system. You are the system. You beg the same government that you claim to hate to wipe your ass. Forgive your loans, regulate your neighbor's sneeze, and ban mean tweets, and post that you don't like. That's not rebellion. That's a cry for a participation trophy with benefits. A subscription plan for state-sponsored babysitting. You think holding a sign that says No Kings while filming a TikTok dance about oppression makes you a hero? That's content, not activism. You're not leading a movement. You're chasing an algorithm. You say, we don't do kings. Okay, if that's the case, then stop acting like court jesters for whatever celebrity, politician, or blue-check cult leader tells you what to think.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, more logic than you can shake a dead aardvark at. And I know you guys have all done the No Kings thing, but do you ever wonder where some of the money comes from for the No Kings stuff? Let me look at the comments and see that everybody's up to speed. Yeah. Okay. Let me tell you this, or let me ask you this before I go into the next section. What have I got? I got about 3 minutes before the bottom of the hour break. I may or may not be doing more breaks after this. I am not absolutely certinamento. However, let me ask you this. And if you would, you can, wrong way. You can respond here in the comments. Do you guys like having the comments visible right there? I don't have to display them, and they get displayed in real time. For me, it's a savings rather than having to go back up here and fiddle around with stuff. In any event, let me know if you think that is worthwhile. Then we'll continue and we'll talk and discuss just briefly. I think I can do this before the bottom of the hour break. Phantom says yes. So that's good. Excellent. We will continue with that at least for this show. Sean says I do. It also shows all the comments to people on the outlet. So yes. Okay, good. Outstanding. Everybody's seeing it. It's cool. Keep the comments up. Yep. So, all right. Sold American. Let me put this up. We'll discuss this very quickly as I can read. For those who are on Spreaker or audio only, and also for those who don't have little squinty eyes, I will have to read this. It turns out that there are, with regard to the No Kings Day, all sorts of billionaire funders and sponsors behind that protest. Many are calling Charlie King's celebration of death. So these elite networks and organizations are pouring literally hundreds of millions of dollars into funding criminals, assaults, terror, and outright harm to the heart of America. So here's the breakdown of the major funders and their massive donations to all this crap. These aren't just checks. They're often funneled through pass-through nonprofits, NGOs that dodge taxes and accountability, including chunks of your very hard-earned American taxpayer dollars via federal grants to their partners. It's layer upon layer upon layer, Machiavellian interests, etc., and that is intentional. That is very purposeful to make sure that they bury it and that you can't find it without lots of forensic documentation, investigation. So, Open Society, 72. Tides, 45. Arabella, 79. These are millions of dollars. Ford Foundation, 51. Rockefeller, 28. Buffett, 16. Weiss, 239, of staggering $584 million, $500 million. And that's before adding the unqualified millions more from, I don't know, pick a couple of names. Pick Gates or Zuckerberg or Singham's real riot-stoking networks. And so, again, you can read this. I'm going to have to go to a break. If you want to find out all my show links, Go to the SHR Media Rumble channel and go to BZ's Saloon under the SHR Media Group Rumble channel. In other words, go to Rumble. In the field, go SHR Media or go BZ's Saloon. And then you'll get taken to my chunk of Rumble right there. And in each show, I have show notes and show links. And so each and every video, each and every story that I talk about and or post, you will find those, and you can go there, read the story, watch the video in its completeness to your heart's content. And with that, I say, let's take a break for pee-pee caca and other things. Thank you.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log entry. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Folks, I'm back. Well, let's make this smaller. Let's put this in here. I was a little late. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. I'm BZ. Ton of people here right now. Lots of people are commenting right here. And you are always invited into the show. Tonight, here are the topics I'm going to be talking about. I went into the carousel of amusing GURP, not necessarily completely done with that yet. Then next we have the Chicago death toll. We'll be listening and standing by for news. Then the topic that you've all written about for all these years, leftist women destroy society. I'll get into that. It's like, what? I came to some conclusions. Imagine that, and then happy stories. This is why I loves me some B. the Babylon Bee. Clarence Thomas gently explains to KBJ that not all black people are mentally disabled, just her, after Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson claimed, aside BZ. Now, remember, this is BZ saying this, not the Babylon Bee over here. I think I have a potted ficus that's much more intelligent than she is. I know on the Hank Johnson scale, it's right. It hovers right around there on a scale of 1 to 10, about a -2, but I'm not sure. Anyway, not wanting to embarrass Jackson in front of the rest of the court, Justice Thomas waited for a brief recess to explain her imbecility. Again, God dang, that's why I loves me some B. I do. Also, people have been whinging and complaining about the East Wing being demoed and all of that. I want to show, I sympathize. I put this up in social media. Like Tom Colicchio. And you'll have to just understand that. Like Tom Colicchio. Now, this is me and Ed is right over here. Ed is my pumpkin. This is me and Ed in the East Wing of the White House. And as I said, like Tom Colicchio, I can't believe the White House East Wing is gone. But here's the funny thing. Oh, God, don't do this to me now. Let me see if I can get this to go again. If I don't, this is an archive from an archive.is. It has been screwing up for me, either on my computer or Google. I'm not sure which, but essentially, I speak leftist. So this was an article. See, there it is right there from the Washington Post that said, you know what? The site can't be reached. Yeah, I know. That's so sad. Anyway, this was the Washington Post saying, you know what? I think that this is a good idea. It was an idea whose time has far passed. It was a small area. There wasn't enough room to host all the people that they wanted to host. And it turns out that Washington Post thinks it was a great thing to do. If I get that back. Oh, wait, here it is. It comes up. Thank you. Editorial board. And let's see. In defense of the White House ballroom, Donald Trump versus the NIMBYs. The teardown of the White House East Wing this week is a Rorschach test. Many see the rubble as a metaphor for President Donald John Trump's reckless disregard for norms. In classic Trump fashion, the president is pushing a reasonable idea in the most jarring manner possible. Privately, many alumni of the Biden and Obama White House acknowledge the long overdue need for an event space like what Trump is creating. It's absurd that tents need to be erected on the South Lawn for state dinners, just like going to someone's cheap-ass wedding, the likes of which I'm sure you've been to many a time. The state dining room seats 140. The East Room seats about 200. Trump says the ballroom at the center of this 90,000 square foot addition will accommodate 999 guests. So these are leftists saying, you know what? We really do like this. We really do approve of this. Only we're not supposed to say anything about it. And we can't talk about it. We can't say we enjoy it, but we can do this.
The bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com, Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every autocrat in the 50 wards.
Now, there's a reason that I do this. One of it is now, these days, to lead into stupid things that have to do with Chicago. But I start with this. This is the HeyJackass.com, Chicago death toll update, illustrating Chicago values. October to date, shot and killed 31, shot and wounded 118, total shot 149, total homicides 34. Week in progress, October the 26th through November the 1st. Shot and killed 2, shot and wounded 7, total shot 9, total homicides 2. Year to date, shot and killed 317, shot and wounded 1,369, total shot 1,686, and total homicides 376. That means that in Chicago, the city of big shoulders, a person is shot every 4 hours and 16 minutes, and a person is killed every 19 hours and 9 minutes.
The bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every autocrat in the 50 wards.
But fear not, I have more about Chicago. And the stupid just seem to get stupider. Here's an article from Breitbart. Demorat run Chicago, at least 11 shot this past Friday into Saturday night. 11 people were shot, one of them fatally, Friday into Saturday across Demorat run Chicago, Illinois. So it's good to see that racist Mayor Brandon Johnson is still accomplishing his goal of favoring illegal invaders over Black Americans, over any American, over every American. But hey, let me put this up on the stage, folks. This is what JB, Jabba the Hutt, Pritzker wants, and the loving racist, as I say, Brandon Johnson. This is what they want, and this is what they have in store for you in order to make up for a budget shortfall. It's 13 taxes and fees, I should say, Democrats may approve this week in Springfield, Illinois, to bail out Chicago. So, Illinois residents, are you in with this? If you happen to be in Illinois, are you going along with your state bailing out Chicago? So, what are they looking for? They're looking for Illinois. They're looking for the capital to bust out $1.5 billion for Chicago mass transit. These taxes would be paid by everybody in the state of Illinois. $1 surcharge on all tolls, $1 delivery charge for items delivered to people's doors, 25-cent increase in CTA fares for trains and buses, 10% tax on all rideshare trips, ticket surcharge of $5 to $10 on large ticket events, 25% surcharge on tolls to be paid one time per day, fee of 3 cents per kilowatt hour on electric vehicle charging. And Cook County already has this tax in place. New tax on services, haircuts, oil changes, payroll tax, a head tax for those working in the city of Chicago, increased speed camera fines, new tax on vehicle sales, an increase in the RTA sales taxes paid in the RTA region. In other words, this is clearly endemic of all Demorats and leftists know how to do is tax and then spend. Chicago spends $650 million to house and care for illegal aliens, and that's based on City of Chicago data. That's $1.4 million a day, you lucky bastards and bastardettes, in taxpayer dollars that could be used for American residents. You know, leftists, all they know is sex and race. So I tried to speak to them on a level with which they relate. Black Americans in Chicago have been chipping at Brandon Johnson that the money should be spent on them and not illegal invaders. And yet, does he listen? Does he pay any attention whatsoever? No, of course he doesn't. That's not his job. His job is to continue to favor the greatly expanded, they believe, voting base of illegal invaders. Here's another story. Trump's DOJ found evidence that the Demorats are skewing crime stats ahead of the midterm elections. I've spoken about this before. Chicago PD cannot be trusted. Most police departments in lurks, leftist urban rat cages, cannot be trusted. Chicago PD was already sued, and the suit was won by an individual who said, Chicago PD, you are skewing the stats. A captain has been suspended behind that and skewing stats to make it appear as though, no, there really isn't much crime, and we keep telling you, damn it, there isn't much crime here in Chicago. One of the reasons that that's true, air quotes, is that, well, you're not talking about the right stats. Also, in terms of Illinois and Chicago, how about arresting an Illinois police officer who is an illegal invader?
Let's do breaking news now. Immigration Customs and Enforcement has just revealed in the last short time a police officer working in Illinois is an illegal immigrant. Radule Budjevich works for the Hanover Police Department. He graduated from the academy in August, but he has been living in the U.S. illegally for a decade after his tourist visa expired in 2015. His illegal status was discovered as part of Operation Midway. So we wanted to bring you the very latest.
What you have to understand is, as far as leftists are concerned, if he's overstayed a visa, that's absolutely immaterial. That doesn't matter. Actually being an illegal invader doesn't matter. And then, of course, you had the situation, I believe, in King County in Washington, where they're having illegal invaders, clear and obvious illegal invaders, guard as corrections officers, actual Americans in corrections facilities. So you're having illegals deciding what actual Americans will do, where they can go, what they can say, when they have to get up for chow, for med run, for shots. This is a crazy city. This is a crazy time. This is like tales from an alternate universe. Where is this stuff coming from? No one seems to know. But wait, there's more. Earl had this on his show earlier today. So Nicole Wallace on MSNBC and J.B. Pritzker and any number of Demorats have said that, well, Trump never said, we've never said or implied that Trump was Hitler. Well, okay.
I haven't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler. I wouldn't say
I don't
that
think any Democrat has.
No,
I
no.
actually, and I think it's a smear that they project back on to critics. But JD Vance called Donald Trump cultural heroin. He called him America's Hitler. I mean, the attacks on Donald Trump as a fascist came from 3 generals who worked for him. I mean, the most brutal critiques have come from people that have seen him far more closely than you or I combined.
So nobody remember, or does anybody remember, when Jasmine Crockett said that Trump literally was Timu Hitler and a wannabe Hitler. And then here's a before and after.
I haven't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler.
The dangers that we saw in Nazi Germany are the dangers that we need to react to now.
Well, I think everybody understands that.
See, these guys are just like the amount of shame or embarrassment in any of these people equals 0. They have no shame. Newsom has no shame. They will tell you and lie to your face that Newsom, for example, was born a poor black child and ate nothing but grilled cheese sandwiches and hog crap and dirt and worms. That's how poor he was. And they actually think that you're going to believe that. Again, this story will be up in Rumble if you want to see it and examine it in great detail. It's there. It will be there. If you give me a couple of hours to do that, to point that up. Now, Sean Lewis from Edge of Liberty put this up, and I want to give props to Sean. To all of these people, Pritzker, AOC, Pelosi, Warren, Schumer, Waters, Ilhan, Biden, Harris, blah, blah, blah. As Sean said, you are all, in one way or another, you have all compared Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, to Hitler on one occasion or more occasions. And there are the receipts. And you can go through these videos. I will list them all for you to be able to see. Because to make claims these days without the evidence, the articles, the videos is stupid. and that is, I emphasingly emphasize how stupid they believe you are as a consumer of news. They will lie to your face. You can get onto the Mark I Model 1 keyboard right here. If the ancient fat guy right here can find this crap, so can they. But they believe that you are so selectively stupid that you will not even do the most minuscule of research. And in fact, leftists will not. The cognitive dissonance that dwells within the breast of most leftists is beyond staggering. It's pretty much beyond human ken. And it's true. And the cops are no different. It's sad to say. The cops in Portland, the cops in Chicago, and then here's a cop who is, I believe, in Cincinnati, who is the chief of police, was placed on leave pending an internal investigation into the effectiveness of her leadership. Do you remember what she was known for? She was known for blaming social media for featuring the attack on a mob, generally of blacks, attacking whites.
Another topic I want to cover real quick. Social media and journalism and the role it plays in this incident. And yes, guys, that's you. That is you. Social media, the post that we've seen, does not depict the entire incident. That is one version of what occurred. At times, social media and mainstream media and their commentaries are a misrepresentation of the circumstances surrounding any given event.
So stop right there. Did she release the entire video? As a matter of fact, no, she didn't. Because you know that the American media maggots, having acquired as much video as possible, if it shows anyone at all obsessing about racism in terms of the people that were the victims, the people that were the suspects, you know who's going to win every time. And so her goal at that point was to make sure that she shamed the people that showed that she essentially has no control of her city, nor did she have any control of her city. But that is her background. That's her nature. And then here's another police chief. Oddly enough, it's another woman. Can you imagine? Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis. And this is what she's advocating for. Take it away.
We got the Austin Chief of Police out here walking with the protesters today.
I love me some protesters.
It sure is nice to see that.
I love you guys.
We all know why it is the way it is in Austin. We got the Austin Chief of Police.
This is standard fare anymore for leftist urban rat cage police departments. I find it despicable. Each one of those individuals should remove their badges. They have despoiled their oath of office. One that I had to take any number of times that I did not dishonor. Let me put this up. People are saying now, oh, Portland police, they removed all the stuff from Antifa from in front of the federal ICE building in Portland. Did they now? And they haven't changed. They're no different. Let me see if I can make this big. First, let me start it. Here's what you're going to see once I embiggen it. So they take an Antifa member into custody at the ICE facility, and one of the Portland police officers hoisted up his "fuck Trump" flag as he's waving it. The police, this is the sad part, the police, the DAs, the members of the department, and the judges are all a portion of the resistance itself. These aren't feds. This is Portland police. But if you didn't see this here, I can guarantee you, you wouldn't see it. And these are things that you're not supposed to see. These are things that people are not supposed to have captured. These are things that no one should be able to witness. Let me see. Do I have time? Sure, I do. I've got about 4 minutes. I can at least start this. Let's stand by for some of this. Stand by for news, because I don't have a minute to be able to play all of that stuff. In any event, let's start with Speaker Johnson, who's telling you what it is and why the Demorats are holding the CR hostage, and why we're going to get into, and this is where I'm going to want your opinion in chat. Holding the CR hostage, and you don't get to hear much of this. This is Speaker Johnson. Take it away.
And they would send $500 million to liberal news outlets by refunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It would also restore up to $5 billion of American taxpayer funds for wasteful spending for international projects. Here's a couple of examples. This is in their legislation, their counterproposal on the CR to keep the lights open. This is what they want to do. They want to spend $24.6 million of your hard-earned dollars as a taxpayer for climate resilience in Honduras. They want to spend $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe. They want to send $3.9 million for LGBTQI plus democracy grants in the Western Balkans. They want to spend $2.9 million of your dollars for desert locust risk reduction in the Horn of Africa, and $2 million for, quote, organizing for feminist democratic principles in Africa.
And that's why the Demorats want to hold up the continuing resolution. I remind people, the House has already passed it. It's in the Senate. This is the 13th time, if I've got my numbers correct. Today is the 28th day that we have not had a continuing resolution, that the Schumer Shakedown Shutdown has continued, and they're holding it hostage. That is being held hostage. There's no other way to think of that or negotiate that. And it's not all bad for Trump. Now, I can't think of this guy's name, but Trump's approval rating because of this, it's plummeting down. No, it isn't.
That's exactly right. Turns out shutdowns are different the second time around when it comes to Donald Trump. Take a look here. We speak about Donald Trump shutdowns, net approval rating. We're talking 20 days into it. In 2018/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular sport.
I'm sorry, Harry Enton.
It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually up a point in terms of his popular support. So the bottom line is this. The first shutdown during Trump's first term, 2018-2019, was hurting Donald Trump. This one is not hurting him at all. There's no real reason Donald Trump might say, at least when it comes to popular support, I want to get out of this shutdown.
But wait, there's more. There always is. Folks, I'm BZ. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior monarchy?
No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right. You can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic women who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm BZ. I'm back. I have a large back, a wide back. Today is October the 28th, the year of our Lord 2025. I thank everybody for being here. We are broadcasting live, as you saw prior, in a host of different places. KLRN is refusing. They are refusing to ship me in simulcast right now. We're still negotiating, and there's some hate and discontent going on. They're talking mid six figures, and I want high six figures to sort of a low seven figure for the show. We're at loggerheads right now. We're just not meeting eye to eye, but I hope to have that solved with luck by tomorrow. And if the dispute is resolved, then you will see this show reburned and reshuffled on KLRN, resizzled, not live, tomorrow night. It'll be a long day. It'll be a long night. But just how many people are behind the shutdown? Because Saturday, friends, is going to be a very interesting day. So here's C-SPAN. People are calling on C-SPAN. This is a C-SPANter right here. And a retired federal worker called in and says, wait a minute, I have a difference of opinion here. And then she lets him have it.
I'm, a retired federal worker, and I hear people talking about, the president needs to get involved, and the Democrats are saying this, and Republicans are saying this. This is the truth. The Democrats, and I'm a Democrat, are the ones that actually, in the Senate side, shut down the government. They did not vote for continuing resolution.
Bingo.
Except for 3 of them. One is the Senator of Pennsylvania, Fetterman, and all. So they have to get together and stop holding an American hostage. We're about to have people without food come, November 1st, which is the end of this week.
Okay, a couple of points. Yes, she's correct. B, she's not happy. C, she's a little bit bitter, but just like everything else, there is more to the story. And with luck, I hope to tell you, if things don't crash, that there is more to the story. Perhaps at this point, you should be asking yourself, because I know you are logical thinking human beings, because that's why you watch and listen to the show. And you've probably thought and wondered, wait a minute, I wonder who is getting all these SNAP benefits, all these food benefits, EBT cards, and the like. You might be surprised or dismayed to discover what the numbers tend to indicate.
People in this country that need food stamps on a weekly basis. And we're saying people deliberately instead of Americans, because most of the people that are on food stamps aren't even from this country. 45% of Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps, 42% of Somali immigrants, 34% of every immigrant from Iraq, 23% of Haitians, 59% of all illegal aliens are collecting food stamps, meaning that most of the people getting food stamps from the U.S. government and the U.S. taxpayer are not even Americans. Think about that.
That's astounding, but that's the truth. And perhaps you might be saying at this time, BZ, I really don't believe that. Do you have anything else that indicates that? And the answer is yes. Why, yes, I do. There's a study that indicates, as was said on Newsmax, 59% of illegal aliens use welfare. And that study, undocumented, well, I call them illegal invaders, undocumented people living in the U.S., used one major welfare program. That compares to 39% for U.S.-born households. Now, I can do the math. I can figure things out, but you are, again, intentionally, this information is withheld from you because it would tend to bias you against illegal invaders. And we certainly can't have that. And of course, there are more stories going on. There's this, another assassination attempt was foiled, which is a big plus. And then you shouldn't be shocked at this because it turns out, continues to turn out that per capita, trannies are some of the most violent and vile individuals in the entire United States of America. Another plot was discovered where a tranny by the name of Trinity Shockley, and of course you'll realize that this is one good-looking tranny. He was plotting a Valentine's Day massacre at her Indiana high school. 18 he is. Set to plead guilty to felony conspiracy to commit murder in return for a maximum of 12.5 years behind bars, plus 5 years of probation. So all of the things that you're not supposed to know, I make sure that you know here. Here's another one that this just came in. And I want to emphasize and show you and illustrate the names that are involved in this. So 5 Senate Republicans joined all of the Democrats to rebuke Trump's Brazil tariffs. Trump has to, the former president, Jair Bolsonaro, he's had some contretemps with. And so the Senate decided that it was going to pass a resolution today ending Donald John Trump's tariffs on Brazil. And the 5 Republicans joining are, okay, this is important. So please, I hope you're sitting down. They are Senator Rand Paul, Tom Tillis, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and Mitch McConnell. And these are all individuals who at one time have and will continue to shit in President Donald John Trump's punch bowl, hashtag because they can. And this is continuing evidence of same. Here's another little thing that people seem to, I came across this and I thought, okay, is this CGI or is this real? Is this Memorex or is this something that somebody just, they're playing along with this? This is a game. Okay. I don't think it is. This is how bad the lurks are, the leftist urban rat cages. So this is from Portland. This gentleman right here, you're going to hear, is walking by. See this right here? That's a dead person. That's a person that's in rigor. From what, you may ask? Fentanyl. The fentanyl that killed him. The fentanyl deaths that are scattered around the United States of America. The Demorats are objecting to boats being splashed by President Trump. Oh, they're just fishermen. That's all they are. They're just fishermen. Here are the results.
Behind me is a man's body that's been here for several hours. We've watched hundreds of people walk by and not even notice. We called 911, but still there's no response.
It's Portland.
So right in front of me is a dead body. Clutching in his left hand is foil. So this is very clearly a fentanyl overdose. What's also really crazy is hundreds of people have walked by the last hour because we're waiting on emergency services and they've yet to show. And so this person has been completely motionless and it's like literally nobody has noticed. This is just another tragic death on the streets of Portland, which in my
one of hundreds, one of thousands, and they will continue. And they will continue. And who will Demorats and leftists, for whom will they have the sympathy? And the answer is, it will be the people in the boats transporting the drugs and the illegal invaders coming into this country and the cartel members coming into this country, muling the drugs into the United States. They're the ones that require the sympathy. You know, it's reverse world. It as I indicated, it's like this. It's from Tales from an Alternate Universe. This is not our universe. This is not our country. These are not our people. Where is this coming from? It's like anything and everything good. Turn it upside down, and that will be a pro-advocation from Demorats and leftists. You can't write this. There isn't anything that you can do about it. We're going to have to grind through this period of our history under which the United States of America is being assaulted on all sides by everyone. You know, all aliens, all enemies, I should say. Aliens are our enemies. Illegal invaders are our enemies. But all our enemies, foreign and domestic, we're being assaulted by all of them on all sides. And here's the racist, muzzy, anti-Semitic, lying, Takia loving, communist, mayor, Zoran Mondani, who, it was discovered, he lied. He said his aunt feared walking in New York City post 9/11. She felt unsafe wearing her hijab. And it turns out that, well, she never wore a hijab and she wasn't living in New York City at the time. She was living in Tanzania. But who fact checks any of this stuff? Who fact checks Gavin Newsom or Pritzker? Almost no one. That's intentional. That's purposeful. Here's another story. Who's funding whom? Well, it turns out that Soros is funding Mamdani and the radical imams and the socialists, and they're funding his path to power. It turns out that in the past 5 years, I don't have the screen for it right now, but you can go to my social media on X and anywhere else, that Soros, through any number of organizations in the past 5 years, has spent $52 billion against conservatives, Republicans, funding crime-loving DAs, and funding anything that belittles or removes power from the United States of America. And George Soros will not stop, because his billions, his continuing billions of dollars, will be handled by his sons. You know, the other thing that I don't even remember where I heard this. If somebody has to tell you we're not crazy, the chances are really pretty good. Well, yeah, you probably are. This is another example of I can't hear certain individuals at high frequencies. The reason I wasn't here last week is because my tinnitus was killing me. And this is going to kill me to play this. So I am ready to turn the volume down, because I cannot listen to certain voices at certain registers. And perhaps you're wondering, gee, BZ, who are you talking about? You may or may not have heard this before, but this is somebody who's crazy because leftist women are crazy. Leftist white women are crazy. She's a white woman because Demorats are now telling you that Mexicans are white. So you have to go by what the Demorats say. So she's AOC. That means she's white. That means she's a crazy leftist white woman.
But we must remember, in a time such as this, we are not the crazy ones, New York City.
No.
We are not the outlandish ones, New York City.
Excuse me while I turn down my headset
They
volume.
want us to think we are crazy. We are sane. But we must remember, in a time...
Okay. Anyway, that's enough of that. And let's see, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I have another cut coming up. Yes, here we go. All the people in government who have said that, yes, we're going to continue impeding the federal government. We're going to, it's gone to the point where, and I'm just wondering where this is, at what point will a physical action occur? So governors, Pritzker, Newsom, et al., Hochul, I also believe, have said that there will be arrests if ICE agents do not comply with state law. State law does not apply to federal agents. You have to ask yourself, how far will they push this? And then Steve Miller comes in to the rescue and luckily states the obvious.
Let's talk about your willingness and under what federal authority do you arrest a sitting governor? I understand the supremacy clause. I understand interference with a federal officer. Tell me how it works that he would make himself susceptible to being arrested.
Well, the answer I'm about to give doesn't only apply to Governor Pritzker. It applies to any state official, any local official, anybody who's operating in an official capacity who conspires or engages in activity that unlawfully impedes federal law enforcement conducting their duties. So if you engage in a criminal conspiracy to obstruct the enforcement of federal immigration laws or to unlawfully
What is a conspiracy? Two or more people acting in unison.
order your own police officers or your own officials to try to interfere with ICE officers or even to arrest ICE officers, you're engaged in criminal activity. Different kinds of crimes would apply. There's obstruction of justice. There is harboring illegal aliens. There is impeding the enforcement of our immigration laws. And then as you get up the scale of behavior, you obviously get into seditious conspiracy charges, depending on the conduct, and many other offenses. So again, it depends on the action. It depends on the conduct. It depends on what is taking place.
Now, remember, if you will, judges have already been arrested and leftists popped off when that occurred. There is no one, as we have been told any number of times, no one is above the law. And that would include governors. And that would include people that are attempting to impede the federal government from conducting enforcement of laws that are already on the books. Stephen Miller did not write the U.S. Code. They're merely deciding that, as opposed to prior administrations, they're going to begin to potentially enforce codes that are in the United States Code, sections that are in the United States Code, that heretofore have not been enforced at all. Now, this is the time when I'm going to transition over into this. And I believe that when you hear this, you're going to agree with me. I should have changed the graphic, and Mrs. BZ suggested to me, you might want to be a bit more specific with this. And yes, with the show I am. Leftist women are destroying society. Let me start with this video. Then I'm going to go into an article. This is what I would consider to be a perfect illustration of leftist white women who are in the process of destroying society, about 2 minutes worth. Now, this is who is running and the types of individuals that are running the Democrats, the Demorats right now. Go.
And shame on Jeffries and shame on Schumer for not being at that rally. Seriously, that is the most despicable Democratic leadership I've ever seen, especially considering they're both New Yorkers. It's just embarrassing for Democratic leadership. And then finally, if you think this Zoran thing is happening just in New York and you think people are waking up only in New York City, you're mistaken. Look at this clip of a wine mom at the No Kings March. Play the clip.
His name was
Charlie Kirk, ma'am?
Yeah, him is horrible. Horrible.
Charlie Kirk is horrible?
Yes, I'm glad he's not here.
You're glad he's dead?
Yes.
Why would you say something like that, ma'am?
Because he was horrible on the campuses, the college campuses. Horrible person.
Okay, there's a normal person on the right, there's a leftist white chick on the left, and then there's the one in the inset who is smug and loving this.
You know what? I do the exact same thing.
Well,
would you be glad if I would die?
Maybe. I'd have to think about it.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Be ashamed of yourself.
Your friend just said she'd be happy if I died.
I think we need to.
So listen up, Democratic establishment. You can either jump on board with this shit, or we're coming after you in the same way that we come after MAGA. Period. Stop taking AIPAC money. Go on an I'm sorry I took AIPAC money atonement tour if you want to stay in power.
These are the people that are running the Demorat party right now. It's not Schumer. It's not any of the old staid STAID Demorats anymore. It's these lunatics. And the greatest bulk of lunatics, despite absent the Takia loving communist, racist Muzzy Mandami, these people are running the Demorat party now.
Stop missing out on these big rallies. Hakeem and Chuck should have been front and center introducing the next mayor of New York City, but no, they wouldn't show up because they're pussies. They're pussies that are beholden to the same corporations that helped Donald Trump get elected. And This is just an embarrassment.
If you think that people aren't listening to the insane leftist white chicks like her and that are fearful of her on the Demorat side, you would be woefully wrong.
Kudos to Bernie, to AOC, to Zoran. And that woman out in somewhere middle America saying, fuck Charlie Kirk, he was a racist, he was a piece of shit. There are so many more of us than there are of them. And these Democrats that continue to play patty cake with corporations and lobbyists, nobody wants that. Nobody wants you. We want politicians to speak freely and look at what the benefit is.
I want to make an illustration right now, if I could, to make a point about this. Bernie Sanders is a Jew. And Bernie Sanders is going along, essentially, with a terrorist, muzzy terrorist lover, an anti-Semitic individual. And Sanders is going along with this. I'd like to remind, and this isn't a buildup. This isn't construction. This is nothing more than demolition. And I was going through some of my past social media posts and I came across this. And it was true then. It's true now. How do people get to these points where they'll go in with anyone as long as power or the inkling or the hint of power is the result of all of this? And Sun Tzu said, an evil man or woman will burn their nation to the ground in order to rule over the ashes. But that's continuing to be illustrative of what's going on right now with the Demorats. I'm old. I'm ancient. I've seen a lot of stupid stuff. And just when we think we can't possibly envision this getting any more stupid or any more leftist or any more anarchistic, it becomes exactly that. And so this is when I'm going to go, at this point, I'm going to go into that aspect of tonight's show. Now, as everybody knows and they realize, I am shy, I am docile, I am reserved, and I am very hesitant to express my beliefs. So therefore, when I come across an article that extols pretty much my own precise beliefs in a way that I find it has the ability to be even more efficacious than my customary wallflower-like standing as you've come to know me here on the show, because that's who I am. I'm a shrinking violet. I'm a wallflower, and I wish I would express and come out of my shell and express my opinion every once in a while. But when I come across an article and at the conclusion of it, I think, holy crap, that's exactly what I meant to say, only better and more on point than pretty much anything that I could have written myself. So instead of summarizing this article, because every paragraph seems to be, I mean, in my opinion, I'm going to read it in total. Last time I did that was a Kurt Schlichter article, and I don't even do that anymore. But I'm going to read this by a person that I hadn't seen this coming, because it's the source of this article is surprising, and I had personally been cogitating on this topic for quite some time, and I concluded, after seeing all of these things being unfolding all around me, that pretty much all the ills that we're suffering from right now stem from insane leftist white bins. We have been Venused by the emotionally insane instead of Marsed by logic and strength. And the biggest areas affected negatively by insane leftist white chicks are, as you well know, education and law and medicine. And these people are nuts. You know, we don't need less testosterone. We need more testosterone. We need to halt the veritable pussification of our nation. I don't know how else to express that so that the point is slammed home. And by the extension, our entire planet, because in its current state as a civilization, our years are numbered, all to the pleasure and joy of Islam. You knew they'd come in here somewhere. They're just waiting. Perhaps, you know, and I've got a couple of articles following that too. Perhaps they will stun you. Perhaps you will just say, well, I kind of expected that. I kind of suspected that all along. But you'll have to agree, in order to, this is a matter of survival. In order to survive, we have to get rid of any influence whatsoever of leftist white chicks and put the men back in charge. Oh, BZ. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Couldn't care less what you think. You don't like me, tune me out. What I said at the beginning of the show. If you're still here, you're going to want to hear the rest of this. Now, finally, as I say, as Mrs. BZ emphasized, I started to say women. No, it shouldn't be all women. It's leftist white chicks. And so to what I say, let's get ready to locky low, because here is the original predicating article that I read. This is from, and I don't even remember how I came across this. This article is from compactmag.com. Never heard of it before. And gosh, look over here. Point the right way, BZ. There we go. Look who wrote it. Was it a guy? Was it a dude high on testosterone? As a matter of fact, it wasn't. So we're going to start here. In 2019, I read an article, meaning the author, Helen Andrews. I read an article about Larry Summers in Harvard that changed the way I look at the world. The author, writing under the pseudonym Jay Stone, argued that the day Larry Summers resigned as president of Harvard University, Harvard, marked a turning point in our culture. The entire woke era could be extrapolated from that moment, from the details of how Summers was canceled, and most of all, who did the canceling? Women. The basic facts of the Summers case were familiar to me on January 14th, 2005. At a conference on diversifying the science and engineering workforce, Larry Summers gave a talk that was supposed to be off the record. In it, he said that female underrepresentation in hard sciences was partly due to different availability of aptitude at the high end, as well as taste differences between men and women not attributable to socialization. Now, some female professors in attendance were offended, sent his remarks to a reporter in defiance of the off-the-record rule. Imagine that. The ensuing scandal led to a no-confidence vote by the Harvard faculty and eventually Summers' resignation. So the essay argued that it wasn't just that women had canceled the president of Harvard. It was that they'd canceled him in a very feminine way. They made emotional appeals rather than logical arguments. When he started talking about innate differences in aptitude between men and women, I just couldn't breathe because this kind of bias makes me physically ill, said Nancy Hopkins, a biologist at MIT. Summers made a public statement clarifying his remarks, and then another, then a third, and the apology more insistent each time. Experts chimed in to declare that everything Summers had said about sex differences was within the scientific mainstream. Those rational appeals had absolutely zero the null set effect on mob hysteria. The cancelization was feminine. The essay argued because all cancellations are feminine. Cancel culture is simply what women do whenever there are enough of them in a given field or organization. Remember that. That is the great feminization thesis which the same author later elaborated at book length. Everything that you think of as wokeness is simply an epiphenomenon of demographic feminization. The explanatory power of the simple thesis was incredible. It really did it unlocked the secrets of the era we're living in. Wokeness is not a new ideology, an outgrowth of Marxism, or a result of post-Obama disillusionment. It is simply feminine patterns of behavior applied to institutions where women were few in number until recently. How did I not see it before? Possibly because, like most people, I think of feminization as something that happened in the past before I was born. When we think about women in the legal profession, as I indicated, legal, medicine, education, we think of the first women to attend law school, 1869, the first woman to argue a case before the Supreme Court, 1880, or the first female Supreme Court justice, 1981. A much more important tipping point is when law schools became majority female, which occurred in 2016, or when law firm associates became majority female, which occurred in 2023. When Sandra Day O'Connor was appointed to the High Court, only 5% of judges were female. Today, women are 33% of the judges in America and 63% of the judges appointed by President Joe Biden. The same trajectory can be seen in many professions. A pioneering generation of women in the 60s and 70s, increasing female representation through the 80s and 90s, and gender parity finally arriving, at least in the younger cohorts, in the 2010s and 2020s. In 1974, only 10% of the New York Times reporters were female. The New York Times staff became majority female in 2018, and today the female share is 55%. Medical schools became majority female in 2019. Women became a majority of the college-educated workforce nationwide in 2019. Women became a majority of college instructors in 2023. Women are not yet a majority of the managers in America, but they might be soon, as they are now 46%. So the timing fits. Wokeness around the same time in that many important institutions tipped demographically from majority male to majority female. The substance fits too. Everything you think of as wokeness involves prioritizing the feminine over the masculine, empathy over rationality, safety over risk, cohesion over competition. That's almost the crux of the entire article right there. Every concept that you can pin back to wokeness prioritizes the feminine over the masculine, empathy over rationality, safety over risk, cohesion over competition. Other writers who have proposed their own versions of the great feminization thesis, such as Noah Carl or Bo Weingart or Corey Clark, who look at feminization's effects on academia, offer survey data showing sex differences in political values. One survey, for example, found that 71% of men said protecting free speech was more important than preserving a cohesive society. 59% of women said the opposite. The most relevant differences are not about individuals, but about groups. In my experience, the author, individuals are unique, and you come across outliers who defy stereotypes every day, but groups of men and women display consistent differences, which makes sense if you think about it statistically. A random woman might be taller than a random man, but a group of 10 random women is very unlikely to have an average height greater than that of a group of 10 men. The larger the group of people, the more likely it is to conform to statistical averages. Female group dynamics favor consensus and cooperation. Men order each other around, but women can only suggest and persuade. Any criticism or any negative sentiment, if it absolutely must be expressed, needs to be buried in layers of compliments. Stop. Women, does this sound like what happens in your experience? Is this your experience? The outcome of a discussion is less important than the fact that the discussion was held and everybody participated in it. Venus versus Mars. If you're not familiar with that concept, look it up in your Funkin' Wagnalls. The most important sex difference in group dynamics is attitude to conflict. In short, men wage conflict openly while women covertly undermine or ostracize their enemies. Again, women at work in groups. Is this what you've discovered? And if so, then this makes sense to you. Barry Weiss, in her letter of resignation from the New York Times, described how colleagues referred to her in internal Slack messages as a racist, a Nazi, and a bigot. This is the most feminine part. Colleagues perceived to be friendly with me were badgered by coworkers. Weiss once asked a colleague at the Times opinion desk to get coffee with her. So this journalist, a biracial woman who wrote frequently about race, refused to meet. This was a failure to meet the standards of basic professionalism, obviously. It was also very feminine. Men tend to be better at compartmentalizing than women, and wokeness was, in many ways, a society-wide failure to compartmentalize. Traditionally, an individual doctor might have opinions on the political issues of the day, but he would regard it as his professional duty to keep those opinions out of the examination room. Now that medicine has become more feminized, doctors wear pins and lanyards expressing views on controversial issues, from gay rights to Gaza. They even bring the credibility of their profession to bear on political fads. As when doctors said Black Lives Matter protests could continue in violation of COVID lockdowns because racism was a public health emergency. But you knew that already, BZ says, as an aside. You intuited that because you are intelligent human beings, and that's why you're here. One book that helped me put the pieces together was Warriors and Worriers, The Survival of the Sexes by psychology professor Joyce Benenson. She theorized that men develop group dynamics optimized for war, while women develop group dynamics optimized for protecting their offspring. These habits, formed in the mists of prehistory, explain why experimenters in a modern psychology lab, in a study that Benenson cites, observed that a group of men given a task will jockey for talking time, disagree loudly, and then cheerfully relay a solution to the experimenter. A group of women given the same task will politely inquire about one another's personal backgrounds and relationships, accompanied by much eye contact, smiling and turn-taking, and pay little attention to the task that the experimenter presented. The point of war is to settle disputes between two tribes, but it works only if peace is restored after the dispute is settled. Men therefore develop methods for reconciling with opponents and learning to live in peace with people they were fighting yesterday. Females, even in some primate species, are slower to reconcile than males. That's because women's conflicts were traditionally within the tribe over scarce resources to be resolved by not open conflict, but by covert competitions with rivals with no clear terminus. All of these observations matched my observations of wokeness, but soon the happy thrill of discovering a new theory eventually gave way to a sinking feeling. If wokeness really is the result of the great feminization, then the eruption of insanity in 2020 was just a small taste of what the future holds. Imagine what will happen as the remaining men age out of these society-shaping professions and the younger, more feminized generations take full control. The threat posed by wokeness can be large or small depending on the industry. It's sad that English departments are all feminized now, but most people's daily lives are unaffected by it. Other fields matter more. You might not be a journalist, but you live in a country where what gets written in the New York Times determines what is publicly accepted as the truth. If the Times becomes a place where in-group consensus can suppress unpopular facts more so than it already does, and we know that it does, you and I, that affects every citizen in this country. The field Here's the crux of the biscuit, boys and girls. The field that frightens me most is the law. All of us depend on a functioning legal system, and to be blunt, the rule of law will not survive the legal profession becoming majority female. You can already see it. Can you not? We have all been witness to and subject to the rulings from what I call black-robed leftist anarchists, frequently in the guise of leftist white chicks, and some black ones too. The rule of law is not just about writing rules down. It means following them even when they yield an outcome that tugs at your heartstrings or runs contrary to your gut sense of which party is more sympathetic. A feminized legal system might resemble the Title IX courts for sexual assault on college campuses established in 2011 under President Obama. These proceedings were governed by written rules and so technically could be said to operate under the rule of law, but they lacked many of the safeguards that our legal system holds sacred, such as the right to confront your accuser, the right to know what crime of which you are accused, and the fundamental concept that guilt should depend on objective circumstances knowable by both parties, not in how one party feels about an act in retrospect. These protections were abolished because the people who made these rules sympathized with the accusers, who were mostly women, and not with the accused, who were mostly men. These two approaches to the law clashed vividly, and here we go, kids, in the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. The masculine position was that if Christine Blasey Ford can't provide any concrete evidence that she and Kavanaugh were ever in the same room together, her accusations of rape cannot be allowed to ruin his life. The feminine position was that her self-evident emotional response was itself a kind of credibility that the Senate committee must respect. If the legal profession becomes majority female, I expect to see the ethos of Title IX tribunals and the Kavanaugh hearings spread. Judges will bend the rules for favored groups and enforce them rigorously on disfavored groups. That it already occurs to a worrying extent. It was possible to believe back in 1970 that introducing women into the legal profession in large numbers would have only a minor effect. That belief is no longer sustainable. The changes will be massive. And folks, I will continue until this is done. No more breaks, no more commercials. I will simply continue. I want you to see and understand this. Oddly enough, both sides of the political spectrum agree on what those changes are going to be. The only disagreement is over whether they will be a good thing or a bad thing. Dahlia Lithwick opens her book, Lady Justice, Women, the Law, and the Battle to Save America, with a scene from the Supreme Court in 2016 during oral arguments over a Texas abortion law. The three female justices, Ginsburg, Sotomayor, and Kagan, ignored the formal time limits, talking exuberantly over their male colleagues. Lithwick celebrated this as an explosion of bottled-up judicial girl power that afforded America a glimpse of what genuine gender parity or near parity might have meant for future women in powerful legal institutions. Lithwick lauds women for their irreverent attitude to the law's formalities, which, after all, originated in an era of oppression and white supremacy. The American legal system was fundamentally a machine built to privilege propertied white men, Lithwick writes. But it's the only thing going, and you work with what you have. Those who view the law as a patriarchal relic can be expected to treat it instrumentally. If that ethos comes to prevail through our legal system, then the trappings will look the same, but a revolution will have occurred. The great feminization is truly unprecedented. Other civilizations have given women the vote, granted them property rights, or let them inherit the thrones of empires. No civilization in human history has ever experimented with letting women control so many vital institutions of our society, from political parties to universities to our largest businesses. Even where women do not hold the top spots, women set the tone in these organizations, such that a male CEO must operate within the limits set by his human resources VP. Who is that customarily, do you think? We assume that these institutions will continue to function under these completely novel circumstances. But what are our grounds for that assumption? The problem is not that women are less talented than men, or even that female modes of interaction are inferior in any objective sense. The problem is that female modes of interaction are not well suited to accomplishing the goals of many major institutions. You can have an academia that is majority female, but it will be, as majority female departments in today's universities already are, oriented towards other goals than open debate and the unfettered pursuit of truth. Do I hear something similar to the crushing of the First Amendment here? BZ queries. And if your academia doesn't pursue truth, what good is it? Let me read that again, please. If your academia doesn't pursue truth, what's the point? What good is it? If your journalists aren't prickly individualists who don't mind alienating people, what good are they? What's the point? If a business loses its swashbuckling spirit and becomes a feminized, inward-focused bureaucracy, will it not stagnate? Yes, 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 and yes. If the great feminization poses a threat to civilization, the question becomes whether there is anything we can do about it. The answer depends on why you think it occurred in the first place. There are many people who think the great feminization is a naturally occurring phenomenon. Women were finally given the chance to compete with men, and it turned out they were just better. That's why there are so many women in our newsrooms, running our political parties, and managing our corporations. Ross Douthat described this line of thinking in an interview this year with Jonathan Kieperman, a right-wing publisher who helped popularize the term the longhouse as a metaphor for feminization. Men are complaining that women are oppressing them. Isn't the longhouse just a long male whine about a failure to adequately compete? He asked. Maybe you should just suck it up and actually compete on the ground that we have in 21st century America. That's what feminists think happened, but they're wrong. Feminization is not an organic result of women outcompeting men. It is an artificial result of social engineering. And if we take our thumb off the scale, it will collapse within a generation. The most obvious thumb on the scale is anti-discrimination law. It's illegal to employ too few women at your company. You guys did realize that, yes? If women are underrepresented, especially in your higher management, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen, and it will. As a result, employers have given women jobs and promotions that they otherwise would not have gotten simply in order to keep their numbers up. Now, it's rational for them to do this because the consequences for failing to do so can be dire, and they have consequences. Texaco, Goldman Sachs, Novartis, and the Coca-Cola Company are among the companies that have paid 9-figure settlements in response to lawsuits alleging bias against women in hiring and promotions. No manager wants to be the person who lost his company $200 million in a gender discrimination lawsuit. Anti-discrimination law requires that every workplace be feminized. A landmark case in 1991 found that pinup posters on the walls of a shipyard constituted a hostile environment for women. And that principle has grown to encompass many forms of masculine conduct. Dozens of Silicon Valley companies have been hit with lawsuits alleging frat boy culture or toxic bro culture. And a law firm specializing in these suits brags of settlements ranging from $450,000 to $8 million. Women can sue their bosses for running a workplace that feels like a fraternity house. But men can't sue when their workplace feels like a Montessori kindergarten. Naturally, employers err on the side of making the office softer. So if women are thriving more in the modern workplace, is that really because they are out competing men? Or is it because the rules have been changed to favor them? So a lot can be inferred from the way that feminization tends to increase over time. Once institutions reach a 50-50 split, they tend to blow past gender parity and become more and more female. Since 2016, law schools have gotten a little bit more female every year. In 2024, they were 56% female. Psychology, once a predominantly male field, is now overwhelmingly female, with 75% of psychology doctorates going to women. Institutions seem to have a tipping point, after which they become more and more feminized. That does not look like women outperforming men. It looks like women driving men away by imposing feminine norms on previously male institution. This is a great question. What man wants to work in a field where his traits are not welcome? What self-respecting male graduate would pursue a career in academia when his peers are going to ostracize him for stating his disagreements too bluntly or espousing a controversial opinion? In September, I gave my speech at the National Conservatism Conference along the lines of the essay above. I was apprehensive about putting forward the great feminization thesis in such a public forum. It's still controversial, even in conservative circles, to say that there are too many women in a given field, or that women in large numbers can transform institutions beyond recognition in ways that make them cease to function at all. I made sure to express my argument in the most neutral way possible. To my surprise, the response was overwhelming. Within a few weeks, the video of the speech I'd gotten was over 100,000 views on YouTube and became one of the most viewed speeches in the history of the National Conservatism Conference. It's good that people are receptive to the argument because our window to do something about the great feminization is closing. There are leading indicators and lagging indicators of feminization, and we are currently at the in-between stage when law schools are a majority female, but the federal bench is still majority male. Now, in a few decades, the gender shift will have reached its natural conclusion. Many people think wokeness is over, slain by the vibe shift. But if wokeness is a result of demographic feminization, then it will never be over as long as the demographics remain unchanged. As a woman myself, I'm grateful for the opportunities I have had to pursue a career in writing and editing. Thankfully, I don't think solving the feminization problem requires us to shut doors in women's faces. We simply have to restore fair rules. Right now, we have a nominally meritocratic system in which it is illegal for women to lose. Let's make hiring meritocratic in substance and not just name, and we will see how it shakes out. Make it legal to have a masculine office culture again. Remove the HR lady's veto power. I think people will be surprised to discover how much of our current feminization is attributable to institutional changes like the advent of HR, which were brought about by legal changes in which legal changes can reverse. Because after all, I'm not just a woman. I am also someone with a lot of disagreeable opinions who will find it hard to flourish if society becomes more conflict averse and consensus driven. Here's the other part. I'm a mother of sons who will never reach their full potential if they have to grow up in a feminized world. We all are dependent on institutions like the legal system, scientific research, and democratic politics that support the American way of life, and we will all suffer if they cease to perform the tasks they were designed to do. To which I say, holy crap. Helen Andrews said what basically we have all been thinking, except in a way that it's full of the right buzzwords and the right jargon with attributable studies. I was gobsmacked. And then people jumped on with that. Here's David Strom in Hot Air. A compelling theory of woke. Certain essays can define how you see an issue or a time. Helen Andrews' short essay in Compact Magazine has already sparked a debate which may help to define the ideological challenge of the second half of the 2020s. Okay. Completely agreed. But wait, there's more. Now, when I started with this article as a foundation, I did what BZ does. I went searching and digging, trying to find if my standard Mark I Model 1, but wait, there's more, was applicable to any of this stuff. And it turns out, well, yeah, it was. Here's the American Spectator: feminism, the nose ring theory, and our potential extinction. What the indoctrination of third wave feminism has wrought. Loneliness. Hold that thought. I have an acquaintance. She's a lot younger than me. I like her, but she's one of those people who think she's a rebel by doing things which are annoyingly conventional for women her age. What's that thing with the nose ring? She actually has two, including the dreaded ring through her septum. I said, that's repellent. That's so obnoxious, she protested. How can he tell me that? And it goes on, and it continues about, here's that famous female empathy.
The male loneliness epidemic is not real. There's a male loser epidemic, but there's not a male loneliness epidemic. They are just so fucking miserable and draining to be around, and then they're like, why don't girls want to date us? It's because you fucking suck. No one wants to hang out with you.
But women judgmental? Nah. Let's pull that off and continue. There's also this article, because there's a place I'm going. And you knew this is where I'm going. You intuited it. You sensed it within. And it's true. Leftist white chicks are nuts. They're insane. Oh, BZ, how judgmental. Factually true. Oh, BZ, bring the... Here it is. From, of all places, EV magazine. Now, to find this article, I had to go to archive.is. Because when you get on Google now, Google is particularly despicable and reprehensible anymore. You can't find anything more than just pablum leftist crap on Google from results, particularly with regard to their AI results. So I had to dig deep, far and wide, and go to an article that I finally discovered over another search engine that was paywalled and then archived and then buried. And this is one of those articles that, thank God, archive.is at the time was working, or I would not have been able to bring this to you, because leftists and Demorats and people of that ilk, including leftist insane white chicks, don't want you to know this, that they're insane. The headline: over 50% of liberal white women under 30 have a mental health issue. Are we worried yet? Over half of white liberal women who have been diagnosed with a mental health condition at some point. Does this mean there's a correlation between progressive ideas and mental health? Okay, here it is. Here's the article. Read it for yourself. What do you think the answer is? Why, yes. That would be yes. And I go on to continue with this. Remember the people that will lie to you lie directly to your face? Or do you remember Helen Andrews in that article that I just read said, some people are for consensus, and it's okay, really, when you think about it, rather than offend somebody, it's okay to lie as long as it's in the process or the furtherance of what some people would call the greater good. Anybody remember this? Bueller? I do. This is Wikipedia, NPR, the chick there who said that our reverence for the truth might have become a distraction.
But one of the most significant differences, critical for moving from polarization to productivity, is that the Wikipedians who write these articles aren't actually focused on finding the truth.
Process that. They're not interested in finding the truth. Well, if you aren't, who is? Who can? Why is it being eradicated? Who's doing it? For what reason? Venus versus Mars, because it doesn't feel good. So the truth is becoming, in and of itself, and you can, and at your own leisure, you can play the rest of that and enjoy it, because the lies continue. And the interesting point of all of this, and I'm going to continue. There's a video, if I can get this thing up to play, which says that there's a psychotherapist by the name of Jonathan Alpert who said that the No Kings protests, for example, in Washington, D.C., were a matter of group therapy for participants. And so when you see all of the various leftist females grouping around all of this, it's like one woman is rubbing the nether regions of the other to make sure that there's enough sympathy going around. So let's play this for a second. This is Jonathan Alpert as he talks about, hey, what's really happening here in these No King protests? And did you not notice, of course, everyone, logically so, that a lot of the people, ancient, old, doddering pieces of crap who should know better.
They are, if they think that our country is being run by a king. Clearly, it's not, and we did overthrow a king and celebrate Independence Day every July 4th. So you do have to wonder how educated these women are. But 40-something women are probably the biggest demographic of consumers of mental health services, probably 20s to 40s. So they're quite fluent in learning how to express themselves, their emotions. So naturally, that would play out on the city streets during the No Kings protests. They're not shy about their hatred for Trump or concerns about the country. So that's part of what we're seeing play out. And the No Kings protests, from what I've seen in person and on TV, it seems to me like a big venting session and almost like a big group therapy. So people get stuff off their chest, they feel better in the moment, but it doesn't necessarily bring about any sort of positive change.
So again, to re-emphasize, emphasizingly, Venus versus Mars, emotions versus facts. How willing are you to live in a world when facts are completely immaterial, but emotions rule all? That's a nonsensical area. That's a nutty area. That's an alternate universe that no one wants to live in, but we're being forced to at this point. Here's a white chick who says that I'm disappointed in everybody. I'm disappointed in men, and college made me this way. Oh, imagine that.
Coffee shop this morning was saying he's Republican. Young, brown, living in a blue state. I proceeded to embarrass him. He said something about a debate. I said, I do not debate with idiots. No, this is a civil war. You have not received the feedback,
This is a leftist, insane white chick who's going to tell a black guy what his experience is. They're going to tell you what your experience are. They don't give a shit who you are, quite frankly. They're nuts. They're brain damaged. They're mentally defective. All they see is themselves. They are narcissistic, sociopathic, and thank God most of them can't shoot, or they'd kill everyone they possibly can. This is what you get: Venus versus Mars, emotions versus facts and logic. And if you don't stop it right now, they will rule all. The insane mentally defectives will be running and are in the process of running everything. Go.
consequence that you're
She knows more than you do. The moral superiority and arrogance drips.
words are garbage and you're a bad person at this point. Let me communicate that to you. You're welcome.
These people really believe that they are doing themselves a justice and that they're making sure that they let you know that you're trash and you're a bad person. She don't.
Now imagine that person, if you will, the female that you just heard. Imagine that for whatever reason she is in charge of dispensing your medicine. Let us assume that she is in charge of educating your child. Let us imagine that she is in charge of adjudicating law in some fashion for or against you, but it depends on the justice that you get will be dependent on who you are. And this is being reflective. Now, at this point, I'm not that far from ending the show. Maybe 5 or 10 more minutes. Thank you for being here for such a long time. I hope I'm making my point. But the issue is also this: men, having been alienated, are leaving the Demorat party because they are not serving their needs, political and otherwise. And when they leave, they're not coming back. Demography, as we know, is prophecy. Just ask muzzies as they try to outprocreate everyone. And they're well on their way. Well, Beezy, you can't say that. Blow me. Men are leaving the left, and they're not coming back. The Demorat party is essentially hemorrhaging men. They're leaving in waves. They're leaving unions. They're leaving classrooms. They're learning to do physical manipulations in terms of their eschewing education and unwilling more and more to not take on the massive debt that results in their pulling the handles on the machines in Starbucks that sound like it's a choking honey badger. Because that's what the people that, take courses in intersectional underwater beaver clitty licking, that's what they get. And those are not representational of the ability of people. Who keeps this nation running? Is it women? No. Who would you like to take your car to or your HVAC to get it repaired? Who's going to climb into the sewers so that you can run the poop down the chute? How many women do you say, oh, this is beneath me? The other thing that I should care to point out, and I think this and the next article, and we're going to be wrapping up the stage here. Why are conservatives happier than liberals? Now, this article says in Real Clear Science that one of the most surefire findings in social psychology repeatedly replicated in 5 decades of study and experiments, American conservatives say they are much happier than the American liberals. I can't imagine why, can you? But if there were something that were indicated as a truism, it would certainly be this. I believe I have one more story, and then there will be great accolades and great thanks to you. We're in further dangers. We're in dangers from Islam. We're in dangers from insane white women. We're in dangers from Demorats. We're in dangers from Islam, various other religions that, well, Islam isn't a religion per se. It's a societal manner of living. But the Atlantic, in an archive piece that I found, the risk of financial and moral collapse, and at the same time, worry not, we're also coming to peak budgetary issues and problems. These aren't things that are just going to be solved in passing in some fashion. These are serious issues that we're going to have to grapple with. And we're going to have to grapple with the insane leftist white chick issue. And we're going to have to grapple with the Muzzy issue. And we're going to come to some kind of an understanding in terms of what can you imagine the tsunami might be that occurs when Zohran Mamdani does in fact win the mayorship of New York City. Somebody that has never truly had a job in his life and has never had to figure out how to lead something in some kind of a fashion, and then becomes the leader of basically the fiscal and capital centerpiece of certainly the United States and potentially the world. What happens when he crashes that? Numerous questions for everybody. Thanks for being here. I remind everyone in terms of programming this Thursday night, I will have Neil Mammon on along with Lonnie Poindexter. And we're going to be talking about the two things, as I indicated before, that you should never talk about: race and religion. And I think you're going to really enjoy the show. I'm a little over halfway through the book. This is going to be basically my central reference point. Never had him on the show before. Now, would you think that perhaps BZ has some very pointed questions? Because you know, as I said at the beginning of the show, essentially, that I'm a wallflower and I avoid controversy like the plague. And so essentially, like most good journalists today, I'm going to be pitching nothing but softballs. Bullshit. Hey, you might want to be here for that. Huh. And also Saturday, I'm not going to be around. Well, we might hit that on Thursday. We might talk about this. What happens if 7 senators do not come over to the Republican side? Because you got to get 60 to pass the CR. What if? What if it doesn't happen? And then I asked earlier today in a poll, what do you think? As an ending question for everybody, and we may be addressing this next Thursday. Do you think that, with SNAP in the balance, with all these poor people depending on the government for food, you're going to see nothing but little wastrels? You'll only be able to see their poor little ribs, and they're all going to be starving. Will the Demorats fold and resume government, or are they going to hold their mud? You know what I think? I think they're going to hold their mud. Because at this point, really, what other opportunity or chance do they have? What's their selection? I think there's going to be mud holding, kids. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Thanks for listening to me, the bloviating Zeppelin, right here on BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct in my great studio. It's late at night. It's 10:20 Pacific, which means that it's, 12:20 Central, and it's 1749.723 in Bolivia time, but I could never understand Bolivian time. Anyway, having said that, promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Skunk Works, the Skark Works, and also by Shure and Electra Voice microphones, the people that make my mixer, Arrakis, and also the people here, Pratt & Whitney dependable engines, producing thrust you can trust. Tonight, of course, as per normal, tiaras are by My Little Pony, and thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I shall be consorting in less than, I'd say 15 minutes. Everybody, everywhere, God bless, take care, be safe. Be back here Thursday night. Thank you.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Night, everybody.
Night, Mama. Night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Stop right there. I see that Boyd is in chat. He's talking about Clyde. Boyd, did you see Clyde has his own engraved glass and his Mark I, Model I Superior cigars, which he smokes every show?
Good night, Jim Bob. What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing? Good night. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.